Okay, I want to talk about um, creating your own split. Today's video is going to be talking about creating your own split. And so why do I think you should create your own split? Why shouldn't you do upper, lower, full body, push, pull, try, the Arnold? Why shouldn't you do any of that stuff? Why should you instead create a personalized workout plan that will target your weak spots while also bringing up everything at the same time? But of course, having more emphasis on where you think your physique is lacking and having more focus on what actually needs to be brought up more, right? Because what makes a good bodybuilder is someone who can bring it all in together, meaning that there's balance throughout the physique and overall the physique looks aesthetic, because you can tell when someone's arms are too big and their shoulders are too small, or you can tell when someone's legs are too small, their upper body's too big. Like, it's very obvious when people only train certain body parts. And at the end of the day, that does come down to discipline, because okay, say you don't want to train legs, say you don't want to, train chest, or you don't like hitting back and you just want to have it underdeveloped. If you're going to the gym, I was going to talk about this as well. I feel like there's two levels of commitment. You either commit fully to the point where you're not satisfied with how you'll look ever because you'll only want to continue to get bigger and stronger, or you go to the gym just to go a couple days a week. And so you place yourself into whichever category you see fit. But the thing that is true is that you need to be good at going to the gym, because when you're in there, in a sense, you can kind of see how everyone's, let's say, skill, or no, rank. No, I don't know how to word it. I'll say rank, sure, because I've talked about, I'm gonna make a video as well, oh my god, 3-in-1 video, about like ranks, like what I thought about ranks in the gym. So like one day I was just like, oh, what if like the same way there's, bronze, silver, gold, diamond, platinum, etc. in video games, if that was for the gym, what would it be based off of? And so I said it would be based off of strength, it would be based off of size / aestheticness, right? Just how your physique looks. And then also your body, it was body fat, strength, and overall aesthetic. I think that was the 3 categories I created. But the point being of this is, I feel like it's really hard for a lot of people to check off all the boxes. So having striations, having good muscle size, like good muscle shape, right? Being very lean, because at the end of the day, I feel like you don't need to look like you're 3 to 4% body fat, like when you're that veiny, which usually is only achievable like if you start taking gear, because I naturally am a very lean person. So like you can basically see every vein in my body, no exaggeration. But the point being is, I'm lean, but I'm not lean to the point where like you can just see everything permanently. Like veins will show up in me if I get a pump, but it's not like 24/7. There's just veins bulging out of my body. So I feel like, no one wants to look like that year round. Like no one wants to be that lean. And I feel like it doesn't look that aesthetic either. But like being in that 9 to 10 to 11% is where most people want to be. But the average person is like 12, 13, 14, 15. So a lot of people will go, through hell and they'll starve themselves, right? They'll go on a cut and they'll dedicate all this stuff to losing weight. But I've never once had to lose weight. So I'm not gonna lie, I do think it is easier to go from skinny to muscular than, I feel like it's equal levels, but I'm gonna advocate for the people that say it's harder to go from fat to skinny. And I'm just gonna say that as someone who used to be very, very skinny and underweight, eating more isn't the hardest thing in the world. It is the thing that's gonna make the night and day difference in your physique. But as long as you wake up at a good time, this is what I've been realizing more about hunger and eating and just how I can get the most out of eating. But waking up earlier gives you more time to eat in the day. Waking up earlier gives you more time to feel hungry in the day. Let's think about the 3 essential meals that they say: breakfast, lunch, dinner, right? So you have to at least have those in your meal schedule if you want to stay the same weight. I feel like when you start eating 4 to 5 extra meals, that's when you're really trying to gain weight. And maybe when you're trying to lose weight, you're eating 2 to 1.5 meals. I feel like 1 meal a day, I don't know anyone who could survive on that. Just eat breakfast and not eat lunch and dinner. But eating breakfast and lunch and maybe like something super light for dinner, or replace that with lunch, I could see how people get away with that. Maybe that's what people don't cut. I don't know, I've never been a cut. But the point being is, wake up early enough so that by the time it's 8 a.m., you're already hungry for a meal, right? Like, but that means you have to be awake before 8 a.m. because no one wakes up like feeling starved, feeling super hungry, unless you didn't eat well the night before, which is something you shouldn't be aiming to do. You shouldn't be aiming to like miss meals so you can eat a ton in 1 meal, because the chances are you're not getting enough. Trust me, you're not getting enough. So the point being is, get used to eating 3 meals a day if you're not already doing that, and then start implementing more meals or more shakes or whatever. Like I say, I advocate for supplements because I feel like, no, of course they can't replace what's necessary, right? What comes from your 3 meals a day. You can't just drink 3 protein shakes every single meal and just boom, done, you got all your protein. It doesn't work like that, right? So it's a supplement. So you're supposed to use it to add on to all the regular eating you should be doing. But when you do that, it actually does make a big difference in how much weight and size you can put on. But going back to the rankings, if you're have size, right? I talk about body fat, and I mean like, if you're 135 pounds and you're like 8% body fat, like I guess you could say it's impressive. Yeah, you can say it's impressive, right? But like you're 135 pounds, right? But if you're at 190 pounds and you're at that same 8 to 9% body fat, obviously you're way bigger because you just have that much more muscle. So there is kind of a ranking in terms of how much you weigh and how lean you are, because it's true what people say, under a certain weight, it doesn't really count. But, right, we're excluding the fact that like shorter people, of course, are going to be on the lighter side. And it's not to say that if you're in that midsection, right? So I consider myself in the midsections. I'm at like close to 170 right now, and I'm pretty lean. That's still somewhat impressive, because the average guy who is 170 is probably not as lean as I am, right? But it would be more impressive if I was 180 lean, 190 lean. You see what I'm saying here? So being lean and being heavy, they do have correlation. It does matter. You do need to be bigger and leaner. It doesn't count if you're 115 pounds and you have abs. Everyone says that because it's true, right? So if you are big and lean and you are strong, meaning, strength really depends on your weight as well, because different things will be considered strong for different people, but the multiplier is all the same. So like me weighing 170, I hit 320 on bench. So 320 on bench isn't super impressive. Most people can hit 315, most people can rep 315, but the lighter you go, the more impressive it is. So someone who's weighing 200 and hitting 320 on bench, like, yeah, it's still impressive. It's still 320, but you weigh 200 pounds. So like, if you were as strong as me, you would be able to do more weight than 320, right? I'm just using me as an example. This isn't like to diminish anyone or anything like that, but I'm just trying to show you how the numbers scale and how the numbers work. So again, it's like if you weigh 400 pounds and you bench 405, like, yeah, 405 is heavy and most people can't do it, but you weigh 400 pounds, right? It's the same thing. You can't be 115 and say you have abs and say that's a flex. Like there's levels to this, right? That's why I think in my head, I created that ranking system because there is levels to it. And it's very like obvious who's really, really doing well and like people who are still getting there, you know? So if you're really strong, you're heavy and you're lean and your physique looks good most of all, right? It's a combination of those three things because all of them are impressive in their own category, but at the same time, they're all equally as important because again, it's more about trying to work on getting all of those three to be the same level for you than to just try to max out on things. I used to be crazy about being super strong. And I was like, I didn't care about how my physique looked or anything like that. I just wanted to be strong. I just wanted to PR all the time. And I was PRing a lot because I do have really good genetics for it. Again, I'm not a big squat, bench, deadlift guy, even though I'm going to start benching again because that's just been my resolution recently. It's been to get stronger because I'm getting more satisfied with how my physique looks. So I want to bring up my strength a bit more, right? So changing the categories and changing the levels and whatnot. But the point being is, yeah, squatting I almost never do just because my legs, again, this is where it's like my split and the exercises I do and the way I view what's important in my physique dictates what I actually do in the day and in the workout. So my legs are something that I don't think that they're as big as they could be. Now, will squatting, something that I see as a strength exercise, basically, I'm not saying it doesn't build muscle, but it is like a full body, full intensity. It does get you stronger, but it's much, much more taxing than hitting legs in different ways where you use less stress overall on your body, right? And you're also doing more isolation stuff. So you're rather building up all the parts than just hitting a compound movement because that's what squat is. But again, not saying the squat doesn't work, but I'm just saying that my legs, I'm not trying to get them stronger right now. You know, I'm trying to get them bigger. So you can train to get bigger and you can train to get stronger. And it really just, the only thing that makes those two different are the exercises you do. Because if I was trying to get stronger, I would just do a ton more compound movements. So a ton of barbell stuff, a ton of like, you know, maybe I start deadlifting again or stuff like that because deadlift is a compound movement, right? It's not isolation movement. It doesn't just hit one part of your body. A lot of your body is going into doing a deadlift. Same way it's for a squat and much, much less for a bench. It's just more of your upper body, like your chest, shoulder, tries, etc. But the point being is, again, I really do think like the squat, bench, and deadlift is the standard exercises for increasing strength because it's the same thing, like incline barbell, specifically barbell, not dumbbell, incline barbell, that's also something that could like, it's a big compound movement that could really help you get stronger overall hitting push. But then something that's an isolation movement, I'll use a very specific example. If you're doing a shoulder press on a machine, but you're doing one arm at a time, that's not a compound movement. Like you're using your triceps, you're using your other muscles, but it's not like both arms and then everything around it is also getting activated at the same time, right? So there's a lot that goes into exercise selection, but I'll leave that for another video. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe, say all the things you want to say, comment all the things you want to comment, tell me if you have any other idea for any other videos. But I'm gonna go and hit my pump. I'm gonna hit chest today.